Let's go.
Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Pre-Gaming with BORDZY, brought to you by Sherwood Ford the Giant, and live from the Sports Closet studio, joined by my pal, the one, the only, the man who just dabbed live on camera. Wow, 30 seconds in, we already got a dab. It's going to be an energetic night tonight, baby.
It's going to be a good show.
We are back. Tyler, I know the people haven't seen you in approximately 3.5 hours. How have you been in the last 3.5 hours?
Yeah, so just to catch everyone up on what I've been up to over the last little bit, I had a frozen meal, a microwavable meal.
It actually looked so good.
It was really, really good, little spicy. I liked it. I then ate an entire bag of sour gummy worms, had a Sprite, and now I'm here. We also recorded Nation Real Life, which was hilarious. The full video edition of the show is going to go up for the first time, and it's unbelievable. It was one of our better episodes. And now we're back here. We're an hour away from puck drop. I love 5:30 starts. I love early starts. It's the best, especially knowing I'm also on the post-game show today. So giddy up. But yeah, I'm ready to roll here.
Yeah, you're going to be getting a lot of Tyler Yaremchuk and myself today because, as he said, he will be joining me on Oilersnation After Dark later this evening. And I guess it will be darker. What time does the sun set nowadays? Like 8 o'clock?
Like 6:45 now, man.
Oh, God. So it will be after dark. It still will be. But hello, everybody. Welcome into the show where I see the first comment of the day is from Egan Huber, who said, finally home for a game. Yes, it's going to be an early one. Actually, I feel like most people might be missing this. I mean, people with normal jobs and whatnot. Also, with that diet you just kind of presented right there, first thing that popped in my head is I was like, that's a podcaster's diet right there. That's a blogger diet right there. Candy, frozen meals.
Yeah. I have fruit at home, so that'll be my post-game snack. So Tyler Mulick asking about my gut health. It's not great. No, it's not, but I do drink a lot of water throughout the day, so I think that generally helps.
There you go. That's how my boy stays so skinny. I see Kyle in here, as we actually covered earlier. That is Kyle. I will never make that mistake ever again. He said, I like how I showed up 20 minutes early, and I still couldn't get the first comments. You got to get in here bright and early, because I think everybody knows we read the first comment.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a race. Everybody trying to get in, but
I like our boy Skirky said the dab might be coming back. It might be,
dude. The dab never left. The dab never left.
The charge on that.
Liam yesterday texted us in the group chat and just put star dabs. So I really appreciate that. But as we kind of get into looking at tonight's matchup, there is a massive amount of games in the NHL tonight. There's 12 going on. I like being one of the first ones to start because that means when we're doing After Dark, other games will just be starting. Get a little screen action here. Maybe I can watch as well. But Tyler, huge nights tonight, which means an early After Dark. What do you think about 12 games in one night on a Tuesday? I know Liam's been making a big deal about the NHL schedule. Where do you kind of...
Yeah, today's actually done pretty well by the NHL schedule makers. I know Liam likes to get on their case and all of that stuff, but it also is an 82-game regular season where they have to fill like 200 days on the calendar. It can be hard to get them all right, but tonight I kind of like the way this lines up. You got a batch of games starting right at 4 o'clock. That Oilers game, nationally televised down in the States as well, is the 5:30 start. So again, you can watch the first period if you wanted to of one of those games, roll into the Oilers game. You won't because you're watching the show. And then you got a group starting at 6 o'clock, a whole bunch of them, a group starting at 8, and then a couple starting at 8:30. Like, you really could go nonstop hockey all night.
I know this is kind of the night when, like, I mean, I know we have the best job in the world, but I'm like genuinely excited to be here at the office, get all the screens going. I'm going to order my grilled cheese sandwich from below at Dog Patch right after this. It's going to be a good one. And I'm happy you are all here to join us. So, Tyler, the Oilers last game, they were able to bounce back and I said deliver a classic Edmonton Oilers performance. The over was a lock. We actually gave you a ton of locks here on the show, and we will get into that a little bit later. But Tyler, we didn't get to talk. I mean, we got to talk on ONE, but the boys showed up last game. Is this a momentum builder?
Yeah, it absolutely should be. To just go and not only beat the Nashville Predators, but to beat up on the Nashville Predators, it's significant. I think this team kind of even needed that for their mojo. Was that a perfect hockey game? No. Like, I was even texting our pal Luke Gazdick during the game a little bit, and he was like, man, this is like the sloppiest 6-1 blowout I've seen. And it was like, yeah, like the Oilers still made a lot of mistakes early on in that game. They still needed Jack Campbell to be really, really sharp. If Campbell wasn't on his game, we're talking about a team that could have been down 2-0 10 minutes into that game, right? Like very, very easily. That scorpion save when the game was still within reach at 3-4-1, whatever it was, that was unbelievable. So the Oilers can use that as a building block, but they should also be sitting in the locker room kind of going like, we still need to be better than that.
I saw a couple tweets, one notably from Ryan Rashog, that said, don't be fooled by that Oilers first period because it was rough.
Yeah.
Jack Campbell just happened to stand on his head and really helped the boys out. And that's another thing that we had pointed out. That's what we were asking of Jack Campbell. That's what he showed up and did. And it does kind of look like he has been rewarded, but we'll get into our starting goaltender matchups a little bit later. Also on today's show, we will be joined by Philadelphia Flyers writer Anthony DeMarco of the fourth period. He should be coming at the top of the hour to talk some Flyers hockey, a couple storylines on with them. You know, a team with John Tortorella as their coach. I'm sure this guy's got maybe a couple stories here and there, but closing out from last game's episode, Gavin and I are red hot gambling. So if you aren't riding with us, I don't know what you're doing. Hop on Betway, get your account going, 18 plus. Please play responsibly. But we only pick one bet for every show. The last, we've gone 2-1 now.
But you pick one of three.
One of three. And for the last two episodes, all three have hit.
Neil's lost one of those games, which is crazy as well. So I'm excited to see what you and Gav got cooked up later in the show.
We do have some more statistics and a couple plus bets today. I know everybody loves the juice. Nobody really likes seeing the minus symbol right there. I mean, it's kind of, unless it's parlayed.
The juice. I mean, hey, if you were chasing the juice like you guys did, like I did for that game against the Preds, it paid off. Like everything that you really could have conceivably bet on hit. Connor got his 2 points. Dry got it 2+ points. Dry hit his shot prop, all that stuff. The over hit in that hockey game. It was a bettor's dream.
Yep, I see here Jake Walters said, boys, give me something juicy to sprinkle on. Well, you got to be patient. We'll get you that right before the game. We might even have a couple of Thursday night football picks as well, because it's a great night in sports tonight. We have playoff baseball going on, the Philadelphia Phillies. As I said, I'm sure everybody in Philadelphia is going to be tuned into this Oilers game and not watching baseball at all.
Phil's bottom of the 6th right now. So the game might second period, but I don't think there'll be a lot of people in attendance tonight. Everyone in Philly is dialed into this Phillies playoff run. Tied right now, tight game. Did you see what Phillies fans were doing though for the game in Arizona today?
No.
Phillies fans were just going and buying like 20, 15 tickets to the game, being like, oh yeah, we're not going, but we want the atmosphere to be as bad as possible. Phillies fans just en masse buying Diamondback tickets and not using them. Hilarious bit.
Those guys are great fans. I have never been a big Philadelphia guy, as I'm a New England Patriots fan. I'm a Raptors guy. Took down Joel Embiid, made him cry. I'm just not a Philly guy, but you gotta respect what those fans are about.
Is so sick right now.
It does, and I don't want to call them the Philly S words that everybody is kind of throwing around, but we'll see. We'll see how this game goes today. We'll see if we get any trolls here in the chat. I see a couple people asking who's Bordsy. Hi, everybody. I'm Bordsy.
You start the show saying you're Aaron Bordato. You are Bordsy.
Yes, exactly. So let's get into a little bit of today's game with the Sherwood Ford Giants storyline, where the storyline I have picked for today is the boys getting back to 500. Maybe even more than that. The boys getting back to a positive goal differential. Anybody?
Hey, this was a talk I boldly proclaimed I didn't think they would until the Heritage Classic was my guess after the Oilers started the season with an 8-1 loss. I'm probably going to be wrong on that because there's a chance they're back to even, I'd say, tonight. I could see them winning this one by 4 goals, but I would assume that by next week, probably after mini, they should be back to lined up.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to make any predictions or anything, but we're feeling good. We're feeling optimistic. The last episode of Pre-Gaming, we were very positive, very optimistic, and look what happened. So, Tyler, what is your Sherwood Ford Giant storyline this evening? Is it getting back to 500? Do you have something else?
For me, it's going to be Jack Campbell. This is a guy who was excellent in the preseason, like 970 whatever save percentage. Incredible stuff. comes out of the gates, has that first game against Vancouver where it didn't go his way. I'm not even willing to say he was bad. It just didn't go his way. They give him the bounce back start against the Preds. Boom. Look what he gives you. Preseason quality start from Jack Campbell. 977. That expected goals against. I love that number in this graphic.
I love looking at that.
3.26. The Predators did enough to be in that hockey game. Jack Campbell just slammed the door shut, only allowed the one goal. Excellent early on. Excellent in the second when the Oilers hadn't quite pulled ahead to the 6-1 lead. Like you look at a 6-1 game and you don't usually say like, oh, like they won because of their goalie. But Jack Campbell was a major reason why they won that hockey game.
Yeah, he was. He really performed just what you needed him to do. And as I kind of pointed this out on ONE earlier this week, you could tell the Oilers fans were back and out in full force because at Oilersnation After Dark, there were some crazy takes about Jack Campbell being better than UC Saros. I don't know about that one, ladies and gentlemen. I love the energy. I love the attitudes, but I think UC Saros is still... And we are also joined by our producer, the man behind the desk, Patrick Puff. Pat, what do you got for a storyline tonight?
Well, here's the thing. We started out the season a little slow, to say the least. So game 3 to me was all about, just getting the win, first and foremost. We did that. Leon, Connor, they're firing. Now I think we go to who started the year on the first line, Connor Brown. It's time to see something from him. I'm thinking a breakthrough day for Connor Brown. It can be 1 assist. I'm happy with that. Just need to see something from Connor.
We've really dropped the bar.
Hey, you know what? Just got to start somewhere.
Beginning of the year, we were
two
talking,
shots last game.
We were talking 20 goals, 30 goals, the optimism, the Kool-Aid. I tell you. Also, I see what people were asking about who's Bordsy. It's because my brother Matt is in the chat right now, and I see
Family
he said
affair.
All capitals, Nuge equals huge. And you're damn right, Matthew. Couldn't have said it better myself. So let's get into the Oilers lineup tonight. The lineup report is presented by Sherwood Ford the Giant. Dealer Raters 2023 Dealer of the Year and 2023 Consumer Satisfaction Award winner. They do it all, man. Used, brand new, standard, automatic, red,
Truck,
blue,
car.
What do you want? They got it. I love Sherwood Ford. So, Patty, let's pull it up right here. The Edmonton Oilers lineup tonight looks pretty similar to what it was on Tuesday. Top line of Evander Kane, Connor McDavid, and Leon Draisaitl. You gotta love seeing that. Second line of Tyler's favorite boys. We'll get into that in just a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Warren Fogle, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Zach Hyman. Third line, which has been buzzing to start the season with Dylan Holloway, Ryan McLeod, and Connor Brown, Patrick. Woo. Fourth line of Adam Ernie, Matthias Janmark, and Derek Ryan. That's a squad right there, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll get into it here, Tyler. The line juggling blender was out early for Jay Woodcroft.
Yep.
A lot earlier than I think anybody expected, but it seemed like it paid off in game number 3 as the second line was able to bury how many, Tyler?
Well, it depends who you ask, but I think it was 2. I know Nuge and Hyman were on the ice for a third one, but Draisaitl was centering them, so it doesn't count.
No, that one doesn't count.
Yeah, but Nuge, Fogle, Hyman, they looked really, really good. They were really pushing the pace of play. I think Zach Hyman was kind of the engine of that trio. He was turning over pucks on the forecheck, but I think Warren Fogle had a really, really solid game as well. They were way better than I obviously thought they were going to be. Can they keep it up? Can this be a sustainable thing? I think in the short term, yeah, maybe. I think maybe you can get sort of a lightning in a bottle 1 week run from these guys where it's like, damn, they're good. It allows you to play McDavid and Draisaitl together and you're feeling calm about the season again. And if that happens, like then this experiment was a success for Woodcroft. Like these lines don't need to stay together for 25 games for this to have been worth it. I do think we need to maybe pump the brakes a little. This trio is not going to let you play McDavid and Draisaitl together for the next 30 games. I think the third line can maybe start producing. That would be great. McLeod, Holloway, Brown. I thought they had some really nice shifts and some really nice moments. So if that second line takes a step back, the third line can maybe cover you for a little bit. That's the nice part about having depth. But I still stand by, even though that second line had a good game, I stand by my take that long term you need to keep McDavid and Draisaitl separate.
Brady's parents in here said, I love the second line. Yeah, that's right. I do too. A couple of people in here calling for a Fogle today. Oh, Race Fans Rocks 4 said he's calling a breakaway goal. That was a tongue twister.
Yeah,
right
that
there
was. He almost got you with that. Race Fan Rocks 4. Calling a full goal, breakaway goal. Yeah, sure. Some people in here, though, saying that they have a problem with the top line. and Evander Kane being up there.
Yep.
I think it's still early enough that we can give Evander Kane a little bit of leash. Did I call him Patrick Kane? I might have just called him Patrick Kane.
No, you said Evander.
I said Evander? Okay,
You're
I
good,
do
dude.
have Pat Kane on the brain. But a lot of people saying to pull him up. I think it's early enough. We can be a little patient with Evander Kane. If his current level of play continues and Dylan Holloway's continues to move in a positive direction, I think we will start to see... I think we'll start to see the army for Dylan Holloway, that movement really start to grow.
I think I've already started to see that movement grow a little bit. Let me know in the chat what you've thought about Dylan Holloway. But continuing with the classic, always relevant line juggling, line blender with Jay Woodcroft. I know there's been a lot of big deal made about Connor and Leon together, Connor and Leon apart. I do believe deep down that if you're going to win a Stanley Cup, these two have to be on separate lines. But I like the ability that the season didn't start the way you wanted. You put your juggernauts together. And like you said, that second line, I don't expect Warren Fogle to play like this all year long for 82 games, but I expect him to play well in spurts. So the timing of this couldn't have been better. It gives you the ability to throw Leon up there on Connor's wing, bring up Warren Fogle. And while he's performing with these guys, it gives you that a longer leash to kind of see what Connor and Leon can do together. But I'm already seeing it here in the chat. Some people were calling for his head already. We're only 3 games in. I know he said it himself in one of his interviews when they had lost 2 games, saying we're 32 out of 32. Oh my God, the sky's falling. But I think a lot of Oilers fans do think the sky is falling for Evander Kane. He doesn't, I don't know, necessarily look like himself so far. I don't really know what his self is these days, because after last year with the injury, the freak injury that happened to him, I don't know really what to think. Tyler, where do you come out on Evander Kane's early start to the season?
It has not been good enough. He's had a couple of moments like he laid out Phil Hronek. I know they credited him with 4 hits in the first game, but I need to see more from Evander Kane. He's a guy who makes $5 million. He's a guy who last year scored at a 30-plus goal pace. The year before that scored at a 30-plus goal pace. But last season, I know the injury obviously hindered him. Like the dude, that was significant. Still, before the injury, there were a lot of ups and downs to Evander Kane's game. We need to see more from Evander Kane right now. He needs to be more engaged on a consistent basis. He needs to be going to the net more. He needs to be taking advantage of opportunities when he gets the puck. Like, this is a guy who should be a volume shooter on a consistent basis. He has 5 shots through 3 games. He should have a 5-shot game under his belt by now. So I want to see more urgency from Evander Kane in the offensive zone. I think if I could break it down just on one line, it's exactly that. Be better in the offensive zone.
Yep, I agree. Tyler Mulick here says, give me top line Dill Daddy. He wants Dylan Holloway on the top line. And I do think
Bragg Creek, Alberta.
Oh, there's a couple unnecessary Kane chirps here about gambling that I'm not going to read. Look, hey,
we popped those out.
We're keeping it positive and we're keeping it optimistic because that's what we do here on Pre-Gaming. So continue with the Evander Kane and Patrick's earlier Connor Brown thought. I presented this before the show and I said, the idea of Evander Kane and Connor Brown being demoted to the third line 3 games into the NHL season, if you would have brought that up to me in July, I said I would have laughed in your face.
Yeah.
I would have called you a clown, put your clown shoes
Said
on.
You're an Oilers hater, all that stuff.
All that good stuff that you tend to get all the time. But it really doesn't seem that so far-fetched. We've already seen Connor Brown get demoted to the third line. His slow start, I think, is a little justified. But Evander Kane's maybe not. Tyler, just thinking back to us all summer, how optimistic and Kool-Aid drinking we were. Are you a little surprised that this early into the season we're already discussing demoting these guys down to the bottom 6?
Oh, am I surprised? Absolutely not, because that's what we do best, is we overreact to the first 3 games of the season. We've been doing it a lot already. But Pat, if you want to flash up the lines again, actually, I wouldn't mind taking a peek at them. The idea of really spreading out the top 9 is not the craziest idea to me. Like, if you wanted to go Holloway on the top line and run a third line that was McLeod with Connor Brown and Evander Kane, I don't think it's crazy. But I would also argue right now, if Evander Kane is going to be substandard, below average, having him on the line with McDavid and Draisaitl is arguably still the best spot for him.
You got to hide him there.
97 and 29. Yeah, you hide him there. That's a great point. 97 and 29 will always get theirs. You could put one of me or you out there, And you know what? McDavid and Draisaitl are probably still going to put some points on the board, right? I think you need your effective forechecking forwards, guys who skate like hell, make life difficult on the other team. Holloway and Brown have been doing that or did that in the last game. I think you want them on the third line. I think Dylan Holloway is arguably more effective on the third line than Evander Kane would be on the third line. If you kind of get where I'm going with all of this.
Yeah, and I think Tyler Mulick agrees with you. He said, I feel like Kane's ego is too fragile to put him on the third line.
I don't disagree with that take.
I don't hate that take.
Kyle's also in, says 120 plus people watching, only 38 likes. Hit the like button, everybody. Also, AB on the blue line tonight. That's the only lineup change we're expecting.
I wanted to get into the blue line. That gives us perfect timing right now. The only lineup change, first pairing though, is Mattias Ekholm with Evan Bouchard. I thought we got to see Mattias Ekholm kind of get back into form last game with a second pairing of Darnell Nurse, everybody's fan favorite. Everybody in this chat, I know you love Darnell. I know you do. Don't hide it. With Cody Ceci. And then your third pairing of Brett Kulak and the new addition to the lineup, again, Vincent Desharnais, which means Philip Broberg has been pulled out of the lineup. Now, I didn't feel great about this for the last Oilers Nation After Dark. We do a little good, bad, and oily segment. There wasn't much bad to pick from in that game, and I really didn't want to. But what we had discussed in the chat and on the show was we had picked Philip Broberg, and I didn't want to say maybe it was the good, mediocre, and oily. I didn't want to use the word bad, which a lot of people in the chat were quick to call me out on that. But as you can see, maybe Jay Woodcroft had some of the same ideas because Vincent Desharnais is in the lineup. What do you think that shows? We're going to have a more physical presence, maybe?
I think it shows Jay Woodcroft maybe wants a more physical presence. I'll touch on that in a second. But also, if Philip Broberg and Vinny Desharnais are both playing good, are we not totally okay with the rotation? Yeah. Like, you want to keep them fresh. And it's not like Philip Broberg, I don't think, played bad in the last game. He was fine. But he wasn't so good that you're like, damn, that dude can't be taken out of the lineup. He's too vital to their success. You want to keep him and Vinny fresh. You don't want to be going through any stretch where one of them is a healthy scratch for 6 consecutive games. That doesn't do you good as an organization. Again, this Oilers team is trying to build right now, right? You're trying to make sure everyone's rolling so that down the stretch and into the playoffs, you're playing your best hockey. So, yeah, rotate Vinny and Broberg. If Vinny comes in, plays great, has an assist, is +2, blocks 4 shots tonight, maybe he gets the next game. But also, maybe you just keep rotating them. I think it's the smart play.
Yeah, I don't hate that as well. I see Bear with Guns said Vinny/Gleason could easily take that spot, in my opinion.
Brett Kulak was good last game.
Yeah. We will not stand for Brett Kulak slander in this chat. I'm biased. I am biased for that one. I see some Darnell Nurse love in the chat from Sergeant Battle. Nurse for Norris. Gene Principe in the chat said, we love Darnell. Down to a T said Nurse for Norris. ... Josh Norris.
Probably going to get a hard no from Ottawa on that. But if you want to talk about getting a second line center who allows you to keep McDavid and Draisaitl together, maybe you go get Shane Pinto, though.
Hey, there you go. Well, we can talk Ottawa Senators on another night.
No, you don't want to dig into the Sens right now? 35 minutes before puck drop?
Yeah, there we go. I see my brother is in here again. He said, Kane just needs to dish out a good old knuckle sandwich to get his swagger back. Do you think that's maybe something to get Evander Kane motivated again, or should he just be doing this on his own?
There is an element with Kane of poking the bear, right? Like when he's pissed off and a little bit of a fire's lit under his ass, he's at his best. Maybe you'll get that in Philly. We'll get into their lineup in a little bit. But again, that goes back to why I think Vinny's in the lineup. The Flyers have some pricks in their lineup. Yeah. If you want to do the poke the bear thing, Philly's a team that could do it, especially a team coached by John Tortorella.
Yeah, hey, I love that we're playing, that he's still coaching in the NHL. And I do hope tonight they have a nice camera on Johnny T all night long, because I'm sure we're going to have a couple of freakouts from him himself. Yeah. But okay, I want to get into it. So Mattias Ekholm was back with his partner, Evan Bouchard, the dream team, the dream duo. It looked like Evan Bouchard's game rose up a little bit last game, playing with the Viking. Now, is it just, you think, I don't know, they're just going to need a couple games to get back into last year's end of the season playoff style? What do you think about Evan Bouchard so far with Ekholm?
First game back together, not good. One of Evan Bouchard's worst games in the last 12 to 14 or 18 months or whatever. Last game, I felt like they were right back to the level that the Oilers needed them to. They played 12 minutes and 39 seconds together. When they were on the ice, the shots were 9-9. The shot attempts were 15-10. So what were they doing a lot of the time? Pushing the puck in a positive direction. They also outscored the Preds 1-0. Granted, they spent a lot of time with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. They do get the benefit of often playing a lot with the Oilers' top line, but the flip side of getting a lot of minutes with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl is you quite often, especially on the road, have to go up against the other team's best players. And you look at how or who they had to line up against. They spent the most time on the ice at Evan Bouchard and Matthias Ekholm, that is, against the Predators' top line. Mm-hmm. They played, again, 12 minutes together, and I'm just pulling it up to double check, but 8 minutes of those 12 were spent on the ice with Philip Forsberg. Ryan O'Reilly was on the ice against them a ton as well. Juuso Parson, 8 minutes. They played 66% of the game against the Predators' top line, and they put up pretty solid results. So I was fine with it. I thought they both took a really solid positive step forward.
Yep, I agree. I think everybody can pretty much agree with that. And I'm going to give Ekholm and Bush, just like everybody, a little longer leash. Are you laughing what's in the chat right now?
Yeah, everyone's just saying that they're all Bordzy's
brother. I know, I love that. I see Tyler Mulick, we were all Bordzy's brother. Kyle said hashtag Bordsy Bros. I love that.
I like that one. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
I want to get that trending on absolutely every show. So Vincent Desharnais is back in. I don't know if that leads to the Oilers penalty kill. I have not been impressed with the Oilers PK so far this year. I believe they're 24th in the league. And if I look right here, their percentage is a whopping 58.3%.
That's ugly.
It's really the Dr. Jekyll,
dead last in the league.
Mr. Hyde of our special teams right there, because power play so good, penalty kill so bad. Tyler, what have you thought of the kill so far? Do we expect any changes on that front?
I'm not sure what they can change. I mean, the good news is they're playing a Flyers team whose power play percentage is 7.7%, one of the worst power plays in the league, 26th in the NHL. They're really not good with the man advantage. I don't think they were that good last year either with the man advantage. So that's something that should work. What I liked against Nashville is that they got more aggressive. That was probably the best sign. I felt against Vancouver, they were a little bit too passive, but also the best moments on the PK last game were caused by Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. You can't be leaning on 97 and 29 to do absolutely everything. They need guys like Matthias Janmark to be better on the PK. They need some of their bottom six pieces to be better on the PK. Am I overly confident that it's going to happen tonight? No. So it might be a 97 and 29 got to do it all kind of night again on the PK, but hopefully it can start to take some improvement, because I would hate to be sitting here at the deadline and going, okay, let's go give up a second round pick for Nick Dowd because we need to get better on the PK. Like, I'm all for having better depth pieces, but like
Nick Bukestad,
I know, but if you need to be spending serious assets at the deadline to fix the PK again, there's probably a bigger conversation to be had.
That is pretty brutal. I see Dukes is in and said, Phil, you're going to play dirty. We need Vinny D to help take out the trash. And then Richard said, let's bring back with Vinny, we Winnie. And I thought I just saw him. Actually,
I thought we might have our guest.
We might have our guest, Pat. Do we? This might be the time to bring in our guest for today's show. His name is Anthony DeMarco from the Fourth Period, Philadelphia Flyers writer. Can you hear me right now, Anthony?
I got you, boys. Sorry, had a bit of technical difficulties there. Kind of in transit right now, but glad to be with you.
Hey, no worries about it. We got a nice photo of you up on the screen.
Yeah, you're looking good.
You're looking good
on our end.
I like that.
Love it.
That's kind of what Tyler and I. That's really our brand. So, okay, Anthony, the Flyers come into this game with a 2-1-0 record, with wins coming against the Columbus Blue Jackets and a 2-0 shutout over the Vancouver Canucks the other night. But they dropped a game 5-2 to the Ottawa Senators. I guess let's just get your initial thoughts so far. 3 games into the season. What are you seeing from the team? What do you like? What do you not like?
Well, I think things that you like early on are the goaltending, specifically from Carter Hart. He's a guy that I think has taken a lot of the brunt of the lack of defense and overall poor play of the Philadelphia Flyers going back to the COVID-19 season in 2021. But he's off to a terrific start. Obviously gets the shutout last game against the Vancouver Canucks, a game that they really did dominate and probably would have been more of a blowout had it not been for the play of Thatcher Dent.
We got.
Do we still have you?
We might have lost him. Waxing poetic about Carter Hart, who probably is going to be the biggest problem for the Oilers in this hockey game. Like if Carter Hart stands on their head, there might just not be anything that that you can do about it. We'll look to reconnect with Anthony in just a little bit here. But yeah, I mean Carter Hart, he is the guy that's going to win them the bulk of their hockey games this year. Like we talk about a team that, you know, maybe should be talking about a rebuild, maybe should have been tanking a little bit harder. Carter Hart's going to be the reason why they're probably picking 9th or 10th, or I mean, last year they were 8th, but Carter Hart's going to be the reason why they probably never pick first overall, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of anti what they're really trying to do as a team in the bottom half of the standings. It's really hard to lose games when you have a stud #1 goaltender. And like he kind of said there, Anthony, I feel bad for Carter Hart. We know we love him. Good old local boy. We love that. But I don't know. It's been so many ups and downs for this guy in such a short amount of time in his young career. But I think we all know he's going to be a staple in the NHL for a decade plus. And actually, I guess while we're waiting, Anthony, do we have you back now?
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that, guys. My apologies.
I wanted to talk 2-1 start. That is really good. Carter Hart looking great. That's really good. I think something that's been really, really encouraging for this Flyers team is just seeing Sean Couturier and Cam Atkinson back on the ice. I mean, talk about what a big boost that is. And also just on a personal level, how great it is to see these dudes back playing hockey again.
Well, let's talk about Sean Couturier first. Obviously, the case to be made that he is the best player on this team, full stop, maybe with the exception of Travis Konechny. But for a team that struggles at center as much as they do and really has no center in their pipeline to kind of be that guy of the future, Sean Couturier's importance is going to be here for the foreseeable future. Now, he's in year 2 of an 8-year contract extension he signed in 2021. And obviously that AAV is probably going to look better as the cap presumably goes up at 7.75. And they're going to need him to be that for this team. And, you know, you have Noah Cates, and Morgan Frost, a young centerman, but set to be a healthy scratch for the second consecutive game here. Couturier on and off the ice is going to be a big part of that. Cam Atkinson, to a lesser extent, I find he's had a slow start out of the gate. He is another right wing, which this team has an abundance of, so much so you've seen Owen Tippett move over to the left side early on this season. But I think that Atkinson has that relationship with John Tortorella back to the days in Columbus. So I think Atkinson will bring more value off the ice. But for a team that struggles to score goals, you guys alluded to their weak power play, Atkinson's offensive punch can be helpful on the ice as well.
Yep. So looking at this Flyers lineup, the guy you mentioned him there in passing, that stands out to me is Travis Konechny. That might be because I am an owner in fantasy hockey. Here or there, I'll never tell. But
that always helps.
In 3 games played. What has stood out to you so far about him? For a guy, I don't know, a lot of Oilers fans don't get to watch him a lot. We talked about him a lot this summer. We wanted him in our top 6. What do you see from him? And can you kind of describe his game?
I've always described Travis Konechny as a prime Brendan Gallagher, but with more offensive upside. And he mentioned it that 2 off seasons ago, Danny Briere, now the current GM and then the special assistant to the GM, sat down with him and talked about him having to go to more of the dirty areas, and was a really analytically driven conversation about Travis Konechny getting to those areas around the net, much like Brendan Gallagher did when he was in his heyday with the Montreal Canadiens. But I think what we've seen from Konechny under John Tortorella is get that offensive confidence back that he lost in the later years of Alain Vigneault, and be more of that player that we saw in 2019-20 when he led the Flyers in points in the regular season. And I think that he's also just become a leader. I do believe he is their best overall player. I do believe that he's by far their best offensive player. That goes without being said. But I think that he's taken on more of that leadership role and been challenged under John Tortorella and taken it in really a good way. He was benched early on alongside Kevin Hayes last season. And while Kevin Hayes took it bad and that relationship with Tortorella never really recovered, Konechny took it in stride and has become a better leader off the ice for it. So I just think that we know how good he can be offensively on the ice. And I think he's translated that off the ice to a team that only has one assistant captain in Scott Lawton. So there really is a void in leadership. And I think Konechny has really taken that by the horns and has shown that he wants to be that leader.
Talked about Cam Atkinson. I want to talk about the other Cam on this roster, and that's Cam York. Oilers fans are very well versed in watching young offensive defensemen try to break into the league. Like back in the decade of darkness, it was a lot of watching guys like Justin Schultz and Jeff Petrie just try to survive on a day-to-day basis because they were being fed to the wolves. And then now as the Oilers have developed on, it's been Evan Bouchard, and watching him try to grow on a team that's contending. Again, high-octane offensive D-men trying to learn the NHL game. How's Cam York handled that now, and how's he looked early on in his what's going to be his third full season of NHL duty?
Well, early on, obviously a small sample size of 3 games, but save for Travis Sanheim, who has played a big part in Cam York's success, being his partner moving over to the right side. I think Cam York has been their best defenseman. And I think that long-term, the Flyers are looking at him to potentially fill the shoes of Ivan Provorov and be the long-term number 1 on this team. And you go back to last season where he was expected to start with the Flyers, and John Tortorella sent him down and said that he had to be more confident with the puck. And he spent some time in Lehigh Valley of the AHL, and he came back up and was really impressive. And he spent a lot of time on his offside playing with Ivan Provorov on that top pair. And I think there was a case to be made from the time that he came up to the end of the season that he was their best defenseman. And you look at his underlying numbers have been very strong. And he's just a modern day defenseman. And I know maybe that sounds cliche, but the calmness he has with the puck, the poise he has back there. And I just think that he's going to be a really good power play defenseman too, when maybe he can translate some of that confidence into the offensive zone as well. But I just think, and you guys mentioned Evan Bouchard, and I'm sure you guys can speak to this better than me, the importance of what a partner can mean for a young defenseman in Matthias Ekholm, and what he's meant to Bouchard since coming over at the trade deadline last year. I think the Flyers just have to zero in on a consistent partner for Cam York. A lot of times last year, that was Ristolainen. Ristolainen has not played this season because he's been on an injured reserve. Early on, it's been Travis Sanheim. So I think the Flyers just have to make sure that they find that consistent, steady, ideally veteran partner, whether it's Sanheim or Ristolainen. But I really think that the ceiling has not yet even been scratched by by Cam York, rather, and that he has the potential to be the number 1 D for this team for a long time.
Yeah, I think Flyers fans should be drooling about the possibility of Sanheim and York being a duo for the next 6-7 years. I wanted to then turn that into a bit more of a bigger picture conversation about this Flyers team. I think it's easy to look at a team coached by John Tortorella, who's got some quality forwards, a couple solid D-men, obviously Carter Hart, and it's like, okay, this team's not going to come dead last in the NHL. I feel like maybe they're a group that should at some point have tried to come dead last in the NHL. Am I being too harsh? Does this team have more of an upside than maybe I believe they do? Or do you think it's going to be another year of mediocrity and an 8th to 12th overall pick?
I mean, I do think they have more upside from the forward perspective and in net. Like, one thing that's not talked about enough is how deep the Flyers are at goaltending. And that's crazy to say after their first 40 years of existence and their endless quest to find a starting goaltender. But now you have Carter Hart. Their backup is Samuel Ersson, who they're very high on. They're carrying 3 goaltenders, and Felix Sandstrom has not dressed this season, but they believe that he could be a consistent backup in the NHL. And that's not even to mention Alexei Koloslov, who's playing over in the KHL, and their second-round pick, I believe it's Carson Bjarnason, who was the highest-ranked North American goaltender going into the draft. And then offensively, they do have good upside with the likes of Konechny, Owen Tippett, can Noah Cates take that next step, Joel Farabee. But then you look at that back end, and yes, there are some positives with Cam York. There are some positives with Travis Sanheim. I do believe Ristolainen will pick up where he left off last year under the new defense coach, Brad Shaw, where he had arguably his best season of his career. But the rest is tough sledding. You know, Mark Stahl, Nick Seeler, a sophomore in Igor Zabula. So I think that defense will ultimately do them in, and they will finish near the bottom of the Metro Division, 7 or 8. And then you look how deep that Atlantic Division is, and save for the Montreal Canadiens, every team in that division has playoff aspirations. So while I do think the Flyers do have some upside, just based on how strong the Eastern Conference is, you'll probably see them finish in the bottom 3 of the entire conference.
And man, like if they can get 2 first-round picks likely coming this year, maybe they find a way to add another. But you do that, even a guy like Bobby Brink, who we should see tonight. And then in 3 years, when you get Matvei Michkov into this lineup, and he's going to be 21 years old, fully developed on an ELC for 3 years, like that should be the goal, right? Is for them to be as competitive as possible in Michkov's first season.
Well, I believe Michkov said when he was asked about being drafted by a rebuilding team that the rebuild ends when he shows up to Philadelphia. So those were pretty big words from their first-round pick. And then this is not even to mention Cutter Gauthier, who they took 5th overall in 2022. And when those two guys show up, specifically more Matvei Michkov for obvious reasons, that's when we're really going to see what this team is made of. Because a lot of the pieces that will be here in the future were drafted under the regime of Chuck Fletcher. And they kept Brent Flair on, their AGM, who has overseen the draft going back to Fletcher's first full season with the Philadelphia Flyers. So under Brent Flair, they have drafted guys like Cam York, Bobby Brink, Emile Andre, Tyson Forster, and Cutter Gauthier. So they have drafted well under the Chuck Fletcher regime, even though the current day and on-ice product was an unmitigated disaster in his final 2-3 years. So it's not like they were starting from scratch. But you're absolutely right, Tyler, that they are trying to line this up for when Matvei Michkov comes over, and I would assume sooner when Cutter Gauthier makes the transition from college into the NHL. But like Michkov said, I think that the rebuild is going to be done when he does come overseas.
Yeah, and we want to thank you for joining us, Anthony. But I got one last non-hockey question. As a fellow Italian man myself, I have some Spanish heritage. Were you an Italian mobster or gangster in a previous life with a name like Anthony DeMarco? Tony DeMarco. The people in the chat here pointed out that you look like a more jacked version of me. So I did look at the photo that we have of you, and when I turn like this, so I'm like, wow, that is pretty accurate.
You fit right in, Anthony. Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to your listeners. I always like enough fluff about going to the gym, so thanks, boys.
There you go. That was Anthony DeMarco from the 4th period. Check out his stuff. Thank you for joining us, Anthony. We really appreciate it, and hopefully talk soon.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Yeah, he was solid. I really enjoyed that chat with Anthony. It's interesting to get kind of a perspective on, and maybe I was too harsh on their upside on the forward group, because again, you kind of look through it, and we're going to get to their lineup in just a second now that they've taken the ice for warm-up. But like, you look through it and you do very easily see like, okay, upside. Sean Couturier is a guy who I think can play into his mid-30s. I'm not worried about that contract. So yeah, they're interesting.
Yep. So we want to thank him very much for that. Actually, Pat, can you pull up the Flyers lineup? We're getting a little jumbled around here, but that's okay. There you have a look at it, folks. What we expect to be the Philadelphia Flyers lineup this evening. You can see it on your screen there. Owen Tippett with Sean Couturier and Cam Atkinson. That's a good first line. I've always been a Sean Couturier guy. I really have, ever since the World Juniors, Sean Couturier, which leads me to the centerman of the second line of the Philadelphia Flyers, Scott Lawton. I've always had a soft spot for that guy since he wore the C, once again, himself, for the red and white. Tyler, can you see that screen better than I can?
I got you. Travis Konechny on the wings with Tyson Forster. Third line, Noah Cates with Bobby Brink, former first-round pick, and Joel Farabee. And the fourth line is nasty. They got Muscle. They got Jam, Ryan Poling with Garnet Hathaway, and Nick Delorier. I know our guy Jay was drooling over this fourth line on Owen every day today. And then the blue line, you got the pairing of Cam York and Travis Sanheim. They're probably going to have to be trusted taking on McDavid and Draisaitl. And I like Sanheim. I worry if York is up to the task in this one, just because he's, again, young, and I think it could be a lot for any defenseman. Never mind a guy who, hasn't even played 100 games yet in the league, I don't think. He's only played 90 games in the NHL. So the blue line's going to be the spot you can probably expose. Mark Stahl and Sean Walker is not a good second pair. Yegor Zamula and Nick Seeler is not a great third pair either, although I do like Zamula as a young player. But if Jay Woodcroft can find a way to get McDavid and Draisaitl out there against that Stahl-Walker pairing, I think the Oilers will find a lot of success.
I think looking at that right there, both of those bottom two pairings on defense for the Flyers, that's going to be a weak spot. And I guess that's where a night, like where if you did have Leon and Connor on separate lines, you would get one of those guys attacking that pairing. But I think we're going to be seeing a healthy amount of Travis Sanheim and Cam York. Travis Sanheim has been averaging 24 minutes and 54 seconds, while Cam York 22 minutes and 3 seconds for time on ice, respectively. Fair to say we're going to be seeing a fair amount of them tonight. You pointed out earlier, I guess Jay did, I think that fourth line of having Garnet Hathaway and Nick Delorier together, that I wouldn't even step on the ice if I saw both of those guys out there. I like my face the way it is.
It's old school, right? It's going to be crashing.
That's Tortorella.
Yeah,
that's
Tortorella, hockey, man.
That's what I'd say. We'd be remiss not to mention John Tortorella. But the Flyers lineup is presented by Greta Bar Yeg. You know that we love Greta. I can't wait to go back to Greta and do our next event there. I know we will be teasing some coming up in some future dates, but we don't want to let anything go. You can have some great food. You can play some great games. My go-to for the food, and I highly recommend, it's the pizza taquitos, Tyler.
So good. That was my go-to during the playoffs.
Every single time I went during the playoff run, because we started winning games. So I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious, and I have to always order the same meal. Okay, Patrick, let's pull up the starting goaltenders matchup for tonight, which is presented by Montorio Homes. We love Montorio Homes. At Montorio Homes, you can build your dream home your way without breaking the bank. Work with a reputable and accredited home builder who believes your dream home, what are you laughing at?
I'll get to it.
Should be affordable without compromising on quality or personalization. Right now, you can visit any one of the Montorio Home showcases and enter your name to win 4 premium Edmonton hockey tickets. Visit Montorio Homes today at montorio.ca. So, Todd, what were you just cackling at?
Be Clean said, I'd let Anthony DeMarco break my kneecaps over unpaid gambling debts. That's hilarious. Also, I was looking at this board. I just got a chuckle out of both the goalies are on a 1-game win streak.
Damn right.
Good work, boys. It's the little things.
Is that not factual?
It's factual, 100%.
I think that's factual. So, as we know, the Oilers are going back with soup. Jack Campbell is in the starters crease tonight. He has a 1-1 record with a .343 goals against. I believe his goals against for the last pre-gaming started with an 8. So cut that thing down in half. Who doesn't like that? Little .917 save percentage. Playing against.
His save percentage coming into that game was 750. So Jack Campbell's numbers just to the moon.
Is Jack back? Jack is back. Let's go. Carter Hart on the other side of the ice has played 3 games with a 2-1 record. As we said earlier, a .295 goals against, save percentage of .922. And yes, he does already have a shutout. There, I said it earlier. He can't get another one tonight against the Vancouver Canucks. So first, Tyler, we'll start with Carter Hart. We've already kind of touched on him here and there. What are you expecting from him tonight? He's a stud.
Really, really good hockey is what I'm expecting from Carter Hart. That's pretty much all you ever get from the guy. He's solid. He's elite. He's one of the best goalies in the NHL, even if he's playing for a pretty average club. So he's going to be a problem tonight for the Oilers. It is going to be very, very important for them to get a lot of quality scoring chances. They did do a good job. They got to UC Saros, so they can score on any goalie in the NHL. They're that good of a hockey team. But if you're not generating a ton of quality, you're probably not going to get a lot done offensively against this team. Carter Hart, by the way, 6 career starts against the Edmonton Oilers, 3-3 record, .302 goals against average, .909 save percentage. So generally pretty average.
Yep, pretty average right there. I see we got 10 minutes left before puck drop, so I want to squeeze this one in quick. I presented this question to you earlier before the show, and I'm very curious to know what people in the chat would pick. So the question is, would Carter Hart be your Team Canada starting goalie if, let's say, the Olympics was this February? the list isn't as good as you think it is when I pull it up.
Give me some names.
Well, the ones that I have that I kind of picked out that I would consider would be Carter Hart, Jordan Binnington. You can tell where that's at with that. Aiden Hill, the man's been hot lately. Carey Price, I don't think he can ever play again. Marc-Andre Fleury, Darcy Kemper, Stuart Skinner, Devin Levi, and Tristan Jarry.
Oh man, Levi might be the guy in a couple of years, but this year he wouldn't be. I think your 3 goalies, if you go to the Olympics, are
Matt Tompkins. There it is, folks. Let's go.
Like Hart is a lock. He's your starter. And I think the backup position would be some sort of a contest between Skinner, Hill, and Jarry.
Yeah, I think so. I think so as well. I see.
We aren't very deep as a country between the pipes.
I'm looking right here,
but
and it
Devin
says
Levi could be the guy that saves it.
we currently have 17 Canadian goalies in the NHL with at least 1 game of experience. That's how our boy Matt Tompkins made this list. Jack Campbell is going to be in the nets tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. Big bounce back game for him. I believe, what did he make last game there? 42 of 43 saves. There's not much you can ask of that. He made the Scorpion save. He made saves he had no business making. Do you expect to see another dominating preseason style Jack Campbell?
Expect is a hard word, but he's fully capable of it. So as long as Jack Campbell gives them a chance to win tonight, I will be happy. Keep it at 3 goals or less. Keep the save percentage above 900, and Jack's going to be all right in my books.
Yep, I agree. Let me know in the chat what you think about this goaltending matchup. If you think we're going to be lighting up Carter Hart, or if you think it's going to be... Actually, this is a great segue because I said I do believe there isn't going to be a lot of goals scored this evening. I'm not a huge fan of taking the under, but that leads us into our Betway bets for the day. Betway, please play responsibly. 19 plus. Got to be 19 plus. I got the app. Get the app. There's always good stuff on there. So pull the stats up for me first here, Patrick, if you can. So if you look here, Jack Campbell coming off of arguably his best start as an Oiler, making 42 of 43 saves. Carter Hart is also coming off one hell of a performance with a 25-save shutout victory over the Vancouver Canucks. The under 6.5 is hit in the last 3 matchups between these two teams, averaging 4 goals per game during that span. Wow, that is low. Draisaitl has hit over 3.5 shots in back-to-back games. Leon has also averaged 6 shots on goal throughout the past 2 games. Might be a little foreshadowing to what we got for Bordzy's bankroll. The Oilers' power play has been elite, currently sitting at 35.7%, which is 3rd in the NHL. I'm confident that we're going to be sticking up there in the top 3. I don't know who else is. It's just a matter of time. Nugent Hopkins has 3 power play points in the last 2 games, averaging 4.67 power plays per game. So there's lots of opportunities for Nugent Hopkins. We now have joining us, of course, the man, the more jacked version of Tyler that we had pointed out earlier, but I guess DeMarco's the more jacked version of me. Gavin Turnek. How we doing today, Gavin?
We're doing good. I'm ready to run it back.
Ready to
We're
run?
going to make it 3 in a row. Let's do it.
Of all 3. So pull it up here. Our options today for Bordzy's bankroll. Pat's going to throw this in the chat for you in just a moment. Our first choice of the under 6.5 goals at a nice
Plus money's tempting.
plus
money is
125.
tempting.
As I said earlier, life is too short to bet the under, but on a night like this, sometimes.
Except for when it hits. And then we're good.
And then exactly. Our second option is Leon Draisaitl.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
If over 3.5 shots on goal at plus 10. And our third option of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins to score 1+ power play point. Gavin, you made all of these bets. Tell me which one jumps out to you.
Honestly, I think it's Draisaitl again. You know, he slot in beside McDavid. So if it was me, if I had to pick one of these 3, I'm doing the Draisaitl shot prop once again. A plus 110. I just think it's an absolute lock then.
Tyler?
Playing with McDavid, he does shoot the puck a lot more, but I'm going to go the special teams route. The Flyers PK is not good. The Flyers power play also sucks. I guess that has nothing to do with this, but the Oilers power play really heated up in that game. They were moving the puck around in really unique ways. It wasn't just the feed Draisaitl in his spot for all the goals. Nuge is playing some pretty good hockey, so I say why not? I'm back in the Nuge one.
Yep, I'm seeing people in here. Duke says all capitals. Gavin Turtleneck. Tyler Mulick said all 3, honestly. And as I said, if you didn't catch us earlier, any of the earlier episode, we will pick one of these bets for our record for everyone to squad ride with. If you want to in the chat, get on Betway 19 plus. please play responsibly. But for the last 2 games, we've given out 3 bets, and we picked one, sure, but me and Gavin said we're going to ride with all 3.
Yes.
And on Saturday, all 3 hits. On Tuesday, all 3 hits. And Thursday, it's up to you. Bet within your means, people, but
How's
those
the poll
pluses
looking?
right
What are
there.
the people voting?
Nuge is in the lead right now, 45%.
Yep.
Well, it's tight,
Ooh.
though. It's tight.
This is actually pretty
That's
tight.
closer than-
Dry over
closer than
3.5 is in second place with the under of 6.5. And last place, I had a feeling that one was going to be last because I saw also, I think it was Tyler Mulick. It's always Tyler Mulick or not Tyler Mulick or not Tyler Mulick either. But he said all capitals, never bet the under. Patrick, you like anything tonight? You got any money on this game?
Yeah, I think right now I'm going to go with the chat. I've currently got Nuge to get a power play point. He's got 4 assists right now. He's leading the team with assists, 2 of them on the power play. If I'm going with one, not that I don't trust all 3. I don't like betting the under either personally, but I am going with Nuge.
Yeah, you like that as well tonight. There's already some playoff baseball. Tyler, you got a score update for me?
It was 1-1 heading into the 8th between the Phils and Diamondbacks. We'll get it quickly. Yeah, still 1-1 bottom of the 8th now with 2 outs. So
sweet.
that one is going to go right down to the wire. Over in the NHL, a bunch of 0-0 scores, except in Calgary and Buffalo, where the Flames.
Yeah, Huberdeau got on the board early.
And then Eric Johnson tied it up. Flames back in front. They just scored, so I have no idea who got it.
It's an excellent sports night tonight on this
12
lovely
games?
Thursday evening. It's 12 games in the
Got
NHL.
Thursday night football.
We've got, and thank you, Gavin. That's exactly where I was leading to. What do we like tonight in the football game? It's going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars against the New Orleans Saints. I think it's nuts that the Jags are the underdog. I know Trevor Lawrence is a little banged up as is, but I think they're a wagon of a team with a great coach, great quarterback. I'm not picking Derek Carr. What about you, Gavin?
I am taking Derek Carr.
Really?
I really am. Yeah, I'm going Saints, and they have a top 5 defense in the league. And like you mentioned, Trevor Lawrence is banged up, so I think the Saints take care of business tonight.
Wow, that instantly made me second guess everything I just said. Gavin's one of the better gamblers that I know. I'm actually joined by 2 guys I know who are pretty accurate with their football and hockey picks. Tyler, what do you like in the football game tonight? 6:15, I think it's 6.
Yep. I'm gonna do a little parlay. I'm gonna take the Oilers on the puck line, and I'm gonna flip the spread. Take the Jags -2.5.
Whoa.
I like that.
That's a good way to get value. Like if you're gonna bet a money line underdog in the NFL,
Might
just
as well.
juice them up to 2.5 and really chase it. Why not? That parlay is like 4.5.
Did you say Oilers money line?
Oilers puck line?
Puck line. Ooh.
Dig it? Yeah.
Nice. You're getting aggressive.
I know.
You're
I know.
betting nice.
Little
Let's
puck
go.
line sweat.
Flames second goal, just as you all predicted. Walker Dewar.
Oh, of course. My bet's going to hit.
Walker, I barely know her.
0% owned in all fantasy leagues.
Yeah.
I see someone probably catching up a little late here. March said, so this means Ty and AB got to hit the gym or stop bringing in Jack lookalikes on the show.
There you go.
Yeah, no, we're here too much. I mean, unless we get a nice little bench press like Pardon My Take does in their studio. They have it literally on their desk. He's made up and it's a bench press. Now,
Wow.
they don't use it, but
Looks
it is,
cool.
it is a nice thing.
It's
I'm
there.
sure Gavin could get in that. Yeah, I'm seeing people here mention Calgary scored again. I see a little hashtag fire Mulick. I had to tell Jay on the last After Dark, the hashtag trade Jay was coming back out for Bouchard. I said to him, Jay, I don't want to have to bring this up right now to talk about Evan Bouchard. And you tell he said he doesn't want to be the Bouchard hater. He doesn't want to be known as that. But if the shoe fits, sometimes you've got to wear it. Closing out the poll right now, I see our winner is
Huge power play point. I like it.
Huge power play point.
I'm in
So
with the people.
if you're interested in riding with the 3 of us, hey, throw down some money on Betway. 19 plus. Please play responsibly. I see second was the under of 6.5 goals with 29% of the vote. Wow, Nuge had 47%.
Wow.
Good for Nuge. That's confidence tonight. And in last place was the dry over 3.5 shots, which I still feel very good about, playing on Connor McDavid's wing. Tyler, you're going to be joining me on Oilers Nation After Dark.
Yep.
After this game wraps up and finishes. So I can't wait for that. We will be live on the Oilers Nation YouTube channel where you can get all of your Oilers Nation content. Tyler, what went out today on the Oilers Nation content schedule?
Every day, real life. This show, After Dark coming, new episode of Wanya's World too. And then tomorrow it's the Friday episode of ONR and a fresh episode of ON every day.
Are we going to be doing a round table tomorrow?
Ooh, yeah, we might.
Yeah, it's true. We don't actually.
We might also have a guest from Winnipeg, so that'll depend.
I don't know if you guys have noticed, if you've been an avid watcher of ONE, we tend to fly by the seat of our pants.
Yeah.
So that's it for us today, everybody. Once again, we will see you after the game. I want to give a final shout out to our sponsors: Montorio Homes, Greta Bar Edmonton, Betway, the best, 19 plus, please pay responsibly. And of course, our presenting sponsor, Sherwood Ford the Giant. As I said, standard, automatic, red,
They
blue.
have all kinds of cars.
They have
trucks.
everything you're looking for. That'll do it for us today. Everybody, good luck with your bets. Good luck to the Edmonton Oilers. And we will catch you live on this YouTube right after the game. Thank you very much, everybody.